and get ready to zoom back in for our final preview game. And that is Illinois taking on Indiana in Bloomington. Yes, we think this is the biggest game this week because the winner of this game might be the number 4 team getting into the playoff out of the Big Ten. That was our kind of big prediction on the offseason, that the conference will be getting 4 teams back-to-back years. I think just the way the schedules are all set up is why it kind of favors the Big Ten. But this is number 6 versus number 15 here at your Sports Outpost. Minus 4.5 point favorites going into the week for Indiana. That has risen to 5.5, and that might be because of the injury news that we're going to be talking about in that section. The last time these two have met, 3-point difference in 2023, and also a 3-point difference in 2022. 48-45 overtime win for the Fighting Illini in, again, 2023. And then Indiana won in 2022, 23-20. That's some close margins. And I'm kind of surprised that we kind of don't see that already set for the lines going into the week. This is the 74th meeting between the two, as Illinois leads the series 46-25 with 2 ties there. Brett Bielema comes in this game undefeated. Last week they shut out Western Michigan. It was pretty impressive. If you didn't get to watch the highlights of that game, they held the Broncos there on the goal line, and not allowing the visitors to score a single point. Again, 38-0. And then the week before that, they blew out Duke 45-19. That's some good stuff so far for Luke Altmaier and company. Kirk Cignetti also comes into this game undefeated. Last week they spanked Indiana State 73-0. The week before that, they played Kennesaw State 56-9. And they had a bit of a slow start against Old Dominion, who just beat Virginia Tech and blew them out at home. They beat the Monarchs 27-14. Old Dominion was leading early and was giving the Hoosiers a lot of trouble, but that's nothing new. It should be expected from that program. The big question, is Fernando Mendoza ready to deliver for Indiana, as this is his first real opponent so far this season as a Hoosier? So far he has 708 passing yards, 72.4 pass completion, averaging 9.3 yards per throw. That's some pretty good stuff. I was kind of surprised to see him only throw a completed pass no farther than 46 yards. I thought he hit a home run already, but I guess most of the home runs have been with punt returns. That was against Old Dominion, and then I think he's hit stuff mostly on the ground for the Hoosiers. 9 passing touchdowns for him, and then 0 interceptions. So very, very good in protecting the ball. 1 sack as well, as he's behind the number 9 offensive line here at your Sports Outpost. And then 72 yards on the ground with 2 rushing touchdowns. He's coming up against a defense that's 61st in the country in terms of giving up throwing first downs. That's 9.5. If I'm not mistaken, it was an even worse number for Illinois last season, so I guess they're somewhat improving. But that's something I think is going to be pretty interesting in stopping Fernando Mendoza and preventing him from throwing the ball down the field. If they can do that, they will have a really good chance in beating the odds that are not in favor of the Fighting Illini. But you guys, if Mendoza for some reason doesn't work out, we didn't really make a case for that, the Hoosiers have a really, really gnarly running game. Again, the number 9th offensive line here at your Sports Outpost, and they have 3 guys over 200 yards so far this season. Kalon Black has 217 with 6.4 yards per carry with 1 rushing touchdown. Lee Beebe, we'll talk about him. They transfer from UAB in the injury section. He has 209 yards, 7.7 per carry with 1 rushing touchdown. And then Roman Hemby, 200 yards, 5.6 per carry for him, 0 rushing touchdowns. And then Kobe Martin, 115, 8.8 per carry, and then he has 2 rushing touchdowns. So there's a lot of options there with Mendoza to set up him also in the passing game. If you can run the ball effectively, you're also going to be able to open up a lot of stuff there in the air. Illinois, though, has the number 26 rush defense so far. They haven't allowed much of anything into the triple digits. That's 97.5 yards per game. And if they hold Indiana to less than 100, yeah, I would think Illinois is going to be getting this big road win and their first Big Ten conference win here in 2025. Another thing to mention, outside linebacker Gabe Jacas, or Jacas, however you pronounce it. He's one of the best defensive players, I think, in the country. There's not a lot of running to him. A lot of teams have been avoiding to running towards his side. But when they do, you're going to be suffering, as he already has 4 tackles for loss this season, which is 3.5 sacks out of that 4. 2 forced fumbles. He had 1 against Duke, and then 5 solo tackles. Against Duke, he had 1 sack and again 1 forced fumble. So he's just one of the best defensive players just in the country. If anything, it kind of reminds me of a collegiate level equivalence of TJ Watt, if that makes any sense. And then for Indiana, I think they also have a solid defensive end in Isaiah Jones, who might come through for the Hoosiers. So far, he has 5 tackles for loss, 2 solo tackles, and then he had 1 sack against Old Dominion. So if he can help get to Altmaier, who's been, I think, sacked quite a bit so far this season, if I'm not mistaken. And he's the kind of a guy that likes to just sit there in the pocket before he gets the ball out. But yeah, if he can cause some trouble there for for Illinois, that might be a big thing to pay attention to for those defensive players. But I think this game comes down to a weird thing, and something we haven't brought up in these previews yet, in terms of where it's going to come down to. And I think that's going to be special teams. Illinois and their kicking game for David Olano. He is, I think, so far 3 for 4. He missed something in the 20 to 29 yard range, which is not good, but hopefully he rights his wrongs already on that. Then his farthest kick so far this season is a 35 yarder, as he's 2 for 2 from 30 to 39 yards out. He did hit a 50 yarder in 2024, so that is also in his locker, and we should expect him to maybe help out Illinois getting some points there in the kicking game. So I think that's going to be a big thing, as maybe these teams get slowed down before they get into the red zone and have to settle. For Indiana and their kicking game, they have Nico Radich. I think that's how you pronounce that young man's last name. He hasn't hit a field goal farther than 25 yards out so far this season. His longest in 2024 was 41 yarder. And so far he's 3 for 3. So maybe he hasn't been challenged yet. Hopefully not having to go beyond 30 yards doesn't spook him out, as he hasn't really attempted anything farther out from 25. And then even for the punters, we got stats there. For Illinois, we have Keelan Crimmins, the punter for, again, the Fighting Alumni. He has 3 punts that has pinned opponents within the 20. I think that's going to be a big thing. Brett Bielema likes to set up his teams for success. And how do you do that? Well, you pin the other team in, again, their 20-yard line, not allowing them to get out of there, or maybe even picking up a safety, giving them some really difficult field position to start off with. That's, again, one thing that Brett Bielema does, the details. If you've known his history, he's worked under Bill Belichick, who's also a big details guy, and kind of looks like it's worn off on him as well. Crimmins is averaging 44.9 yards per punt. And then for Indiana, they have an interesting situation because Mitch McCarthy, who we're going to talk about in the injury section, looks like he is questionable. Regardless, he has 1 punt so far in the 20. And I guess the guy that's going to be maybe filling that position in this weekend is Quinn Warren. He's averaging 46 yards per punt. And then he's so far pinned 2 within the 20-yard line so far here, again, in 2025. Injuries for Illinois. They have quite a few. I think the most out of any of our previews. Technically, there's a bunch for a lot of these teams, but for key players, Aiden Lawfrey, he's questionable. So that's not a good thing to have your starting running back maybe having some issues going into this game. They do lose some depth because if I'm not mistaken, they do run some packages with 6 offensive linemen. They will be without Idaho transfer Aiden Napkit, who's questionable with a knee injury. And then on the defensive side, which is a little worrying if these guys are questionable, especially for the starting linebacker, Dylan Rozek. They do have some depth, though, in that middle area, again, behind the defensive line. He's questionable with an undisclosed injury. In the secondary, you have Torrey Cox Jr., who's going to be out for this game with an undisclosed injury. And then nickelback Xavier Scott, who's probable. For Indiana and their injuries, Lee Beebe Jr., the transfer from UAB, he looks to be out, unfortunately. But again, we already talked about the depth there already for that gnarly running game for the Hoosiers. He has a leg injury. And then cornerback Bryson Bond is questionable going into this game. He doesn't have a lot of crazy numbers, but again, that just loses some depth there in the secondary. And then we already mentioned Mitch McCarthy, the punter, who's questionable going into this. We are doing another game where we're picking the underdogs on the road, and that would be Illinois. We think they're going to be repeating history like the last 2 meetings. A 3-point difference, 40 Fighting Alumni getting their first Big Ten win. We think Luke Altmaier is going to be playing some clutch football. So far this season, he's 71% in pass completions, 3 passing touchdowns against Duke as well. He was sacked 3 times there. That's where maybe Isaiah Jones exploits the Fighting Alumni's line. But we think also Illinois and their offensive line is top 5 in terms of total offensive lines here in 2025. Another thing to mention, Illinois is 19th in the country on third down with a 48% conversion rate. That's where Luke Altmaier is going to be shining in this game when he has to get into those scenarios. But hopefully he's set up with doable third downs. You don't want to be third and long. And then also, they are tied for first with 42 other teams in scoring percentage so far in the red zone, and that's 100%. Does that change in this game? I think Kirk Giannetti's probably also looking at that number and trying to stop it. But that's why we're also talking about the special teams and why this game is going to be coming down to that 1% part of the game. As that is our predictions so far here in week 3. We're going 3 points for Illinois. That's all.